Hi, and welcome to episode 23 of my series about the Pyara region, a fakemon region inspired by Pakistan. In this episode, we'll wrap up our look at the Pyara region's human cast, and indeed wrap up the base Pyara region as a whole, with a look at its evil team. But first, I thought it might be fun to take a quick look at the villains throughout Pokemon's 30-year history, and examine their gameplay and narrative roles within each game. It's been a while since we last did a proper deep dive. Unlike gym leaders and rivals, evil teams don't really serve as level checks or tests of the player's understanding of the game's mechanics. In fact, your average grunt is kind of a total pushover, and even most admins aren't much better. This is very much by design. Much like the Elite Four, villain teams are designed to be intimidating presentationally, but weak mechanically, and since you typically fight a lot of them at once, the player feels like they've accomplished something significant without being demoralized by several tough fights in a row. The large number of easy enemies also provides a handy source of experience points, helping the player's team get stronger and facilitating greater challenges further down the line. Villains also act as useful roadblocks, encouraging the player to explore to get around or through them, and directing their experience in a way that works narratively. Speaking of narrative, evil teams are essential parts of a region's story, and take on a great deal of any given game's narrative and themes. Like I mentioned in my video about rivals, the player character is meant to be a blank slate, so they can't go through any explicit character growth, but that narrative burden can be put in other places. Where a rival's development implicitly reflects the player's growth, the villain team represents what the player character is growing away from, the mindsets you're fighting against. The villains are your direct opposite, so when you fight them, the game creates an implied character arc for you without outright saying it. In this way, evil teams are perhaps the strongest embodiment of the game's core ideas. If you want a shortcut to see what any given game is trying to go for with its story, look at its bad guys. Gen 1's Team Rocket is a great example of this. Their criminal activities, including stealing from people and exploiting Pokemon for financial gain, directly contrast your journey, where you make connections with people and create bonds with your Pokemon. There's a lot of effective contrast established through their design too. Team Rocket is specifically an organised crime syndicate, an evil that's very cynical, authoritarian and grown-up, at odds with the free, youthful idealism that permeates the Kanto games. By taking these guys on and winning, you assert the power of your ideals. Great stuff. Team Rocket returns for Gen 2, acting as the main connective tissue between Johto and Kanto before the Elite Four. Not too much to comment on here that wasn't already said in the previous section. Team Rocket do just as good a job at establishing vibes in Johto as they did in Kanto. Gen 3's Team Magma and Team Aqua are Pokemon's first and only version-exclusive evil teams. After designing a pair of evil teams for my previous region, I can see why they only did it once. Leaning into the idea of duality established in the previous games, and using it to communicate ideas about the relationship between man and nature. This is also the first game where the evil team has a solid capital G goal rather than just generally causing trouble, actively directing the narrative in ways that makes them really memorable villains, and helps communicate the game's themes more effectively. The designs also move away from the more grounded, organised crime vibes of Team Rocket, with a more cartoony aesthetic that helps create a solid contrast between the two teams. Gen 4 gave us Team Galactic, returning with just one team, but retaining the cartoony aesthetic of Magma and Aqua with their spaceman vibe. These guys feel like a solid middle ground between Team Rocket and Teams Magma and Aqua, being a little more grounded and serious while not going completely into real-world criminal aesthetics, and with more fantastical goals. Maybe not the most memorable evil team, but they do their job well, and with style. But Gen 5 is where evil teams really start cooking with gas. In service of the Unova region's examination of Pokemon as a franchise, Team Plasma interrogate the human-Pokemon relationship at the heart of the series. Of course, the games conclude in favour of themselves, but it was still a very daring move to take a swing at the foundations like that, and Team Plasma was an important part of that narrative introspection. These guys also facilitated a bunch of compelling narrative exploration into complex ideas like trauma, abuse and manipulation, examining the ways that truth and ideals can be challenged and warped, and making Team Plasma's villainy feel more intimate and personal than ever before. Fantastic stuff! Where would the series go from there? To Gen 6, which introduced Team Flare, who were another galactic-style standard evil team. Don't get me wrong, they served that function perfectly fine, but after Team Plasma took things in such a fresh, exciting direction, Team Flare feels like Game Freak pulling their punches ever so slightly. Still, they do their jobs well enough, and the snazzy suits evoke that slightly more grounded criminal feel that Team Rocket had, and tie nicely into Kalos' theme of beauty. But Gen 7 brings things right back with Team Skull! Yes! I love these guys. Team Skull has significantly scaled back ambitions compared to every other team. They're not an organised criminal force with plans for world domination. They're just a bunch of losers who mostly just mildly annoy people. But after 20 years of supervillains, a bunch of losers is actually a pretty novel concept. And they execute it perfectly with some genuinely hilarious moments. But the smaller scale of their tomfoolery means there's also wiggle room to give them some pathos and tie into the themes of the game. Team Skull's members are people who failed Alola's Island challenge and lash out at a system that has rejected them. That's relatable. That's universal. That's an interesting exploration of the conflict between tradition and modernity. Team Skull is so good, you guys, and I haven't even mentioned the music. Gen 8's Team Yell feels like an attempt to capture the same lightning of Team Skull, being punks with small ambitions but with a sympathetic backstory, but tragically the execution falls short of Alola's greatness. Remember in the Rivals episode where I talked about how Marnie's backstory was only communicated through league cards and never actually factored significantly into Gala's story? Yeah, Team Yell could have been a really strong part of Sword and Shield, but for some reason they never really got the opportunity to shine. To make matters worse, their antics aren't really funny or memorable, which is wild because they're football hooligans. They should be going over the top in everything. Finally, Gen 9's Team Star ended up being similarly underwhelming. The bosses are fun enough, I like their designs and the fights are neat, but the team as a whole doesn't have enough of a presence in the games to feel substantial. We're told that these guys are delinquents, but never actually see any of their delinquency, so clearing their bases as an Operation Starfall feels oddly detached from the rest of the region. Of course, we eventually learn that Team Star is misunderstood, and the real villain is the indifference of the educational institution towards the young people under its care. But that's all told to us in lengthy flashback sequences, and not really anything we have a significant part in. I think Scarlet and Violet do well enough in the other two stories and the finale that Team Star gets away with being a bit undercooked, but that doesn't make it not undercooked. My previous region, Ormate, had two evil teams, a la Gen 3, Team Eon and Team Neon, which represented tradition and modernity respectively. They're also a statement on different real-life mindsets in our day and age. The people who glorify the past and turn their backs on social progress, and the tech bros engineering away human connection for the sake of convenience and profit. So what's the evil team from Pyara like? I'm glad you asked. Introducing the Exodus Corporation, colloquially known as Team Exodus. Pyara's central themes are love, unity, and living in harmony with nature. So of course these guys are going to take those ideas and flip them upside down. Team Exodus believes the Earth is irrevocably doomed, and that there's no point in trying to save it. Rather, their plan is to try and improve life for themselves at the expense of everyone else, and they're willing to sacrifice all of Pyara's natural resources in pursuit of their goals. Visually, since Pyara also has a space theme, but Team Galactic already took spacemen, I based Team Exodus's uniform on Star Trek uniforms. My idea there is that these guys copy the aesthetics of science fiction without understanding its messaging, cosplaying as spacefaring heroes because that's what they think they are. As part of the Operation Exodus storyline, you'll help Nord take down 5 Team Exodus bases, each one run by a Team Exodus admin. Clearing each base will end the team's shady activities in that area, opening up new places for you to explore and increasing the diversity of Pokémon you can find. So let's meet these admins. Starting off we have Alberio, Al to his friends, but it would be if he had any. He's a dark type specialist and is in charge of acquisition for Team Exodus. This means both recruiting jaded and desperate people to become grunts, and acquiring Pokémon from their natural habitats or from trainers to assist Team Exodus's efforts, whether they want to or not. He tries to make himself seem cool and relatable to his targets, but he's a total loser, and a bully who only hires grunts so he can have more people to push around. He's not even a real punk. Maybe you'll be able to knock him down a peg, and put an end to his recruitment drive. Alberio's ace is Buzzlewas, but unlike the other trainers I've covered in these videos, the Team Exodus admins won't Starise their Pokémon. Starising requires there to be a solid bond between trainer and Pokémon, which is something these villains definitely lack. Instead, their aces will get something called an EX boost, making the Pokémon much bigger and enveloping it in an aura that boosts its stats, like Alola's totem Pokémon. Unlike totems, this boost is artificially induced and causes great pain to the Pokémon receiving it. Defeat the admins quickly to free their aces from their suffering. Next up is Gina. They're a steel type specialist and are in charge of security for Team Exodus. This involves training grunts in their Pokémon, devising tactics for those grunts to carry out in order to protect Team Exodus's interests, and intimidating people who might try and resist whatever plans Team Exodus has for the Pyara region. Gina likes to present himself as a noble warrior who lives for glorious combat, but like Alberio, it's all a front they use to bully the grunts under them. Sure, they work out, but they've never been in a real fight. Maybe you can show them what it really means to fight for something you believe in. Their race is Shinobug. The third admin you'll face is Fawaris. This grass-type specialist heads Team Exodus's scientific division, a role which involves discovering new ways to exploit Pyara's abundant natural resources to benefit Team Exodus. He's the person who came up with the EX boost, which he devised while studying the Starise phenomenon. Fawaris has absolutely no compassion for any of the people and Pokémon he hurts with his studies. As far as he's concerned, science trumps morality, and to him, the discoveries he makes far outweigh the suffering he causes. Maybe you can defeat him, and put an end to his cruel experiments in the process. His ace is Sproutlaw. The fourth admin you'll face is Seda. This ghost type specialist is Team Exodus's second in command, and is responsible for managing all the day-to-day goings-on of all the other divisions. She cultivates an air of mystery about herself, instilling fear into the hearts of grunts and admins alike. Very little is known about her, but everyone knows that anyone who crosses her doesn't stick around for long. Seda does not tolerate failure from any of her subordinates, but maybe you can give her a taste of defeat by taking her on in battle. Her ace is Oblivion. Finally, the leader of Team Exodus is Signa. As the CEO of the Exodus Corporation and a major mover and shaker in Pyara high society, Signa sees herself as the centre of the universe and will stop at nothing to get exactly what she wants. But she and she alone calls the shots. She believes that she's a hero, saving the enlightened few from an inevitable climate collapse. But she could just as easily use the resources at her disposal to try and fix things on Earth, and has decided not to, simply because it's inconvenient to her. There's only one thing for it. You've got to defeat her and put an end to Team Exodus' schemes once and for all. Signa's ace is Arachnabe, and unlike the admins, she actually does Starise her ace into Starise Arachnabe, which you might remember from way back in the first gym leader video. As was hinted in the Elite Four video, Signa is also in cahoots with the Pyara region's champion, Asan, who helps keep some of the group's shady activities under wraps and insulates them from the consequences of their actions, in return for a seat at the Exodus table. While Signa and the rest of Team Exodus operate purely out of selfishness, Asan is acting out of a warped sense of altruism. He truly does care about the Pyara region, but has been convinced by Signa that its collapse is completely unavoidable. From his perspective, aiding Team Exodus with their plans is a way to save some of the region he loves so dearly, with the alternative being watching it all deteriorate into nothing. But what exactly are Team Exodus' plans? How do the legendary Pokémon Kogaya and Kingame play into things? And how can you and your friends stop them? Well, I can't give you all of the answers. Gotta have a little bit of mystery. Oh, speaking of Starise forms, I've got one more left to show you. This is Starise Poltegeist, which reworks Poltegeist into an entire tea set, with a taller teapot and spectral hands formed from Sinistea cups. I also try to invoke the kind of person who might have a tea party with Poltegeist design. A little princessy, a little debutante, a little southern belle. Poltegeist's wish is for more people to try its tea, and in addition to letting it create more tea, this Starise form strengthens Poltegeist's spectral powers, allowing it to control any foe that gets a taste of its sinister brew. And with that look at the Pyara region's evil team, that's 2 of the 3 storylines covered. Only Titan Quest left to go. In this storyline, you'll be teaming up with your friend Kai to investigate reports of unusually large and powerful Titan Pokémon who have recently gone out of control, causing disturbances in the ecosystem. It's believed these Titans have some connection to the legendary Pokémon that protect the region, but what connection? It'll be up to you to discover and defeat each Titan, restore balance to the Pyara region, and uncover the mysteries surrounding Kogaya and Kingame. The Titan Pokémon you'll encounter are the leader of the bunch, Tropicopter, the monarch of the mangroves, Magikarp, the sultan of the sands, Glastodon, the king of the cliffs, Musjadon, and the 3-head honcho, Cryonix. Right, I think that's everything. Although, between the gym leaders, Titans, and Exodus admins, we've covered 17 types, but I'm missing any representation for the fairy type. Ah well, guess that's just a weird gap in my planning. That's all for this episode, and indeed that's all for the base Pyara region. Whether you've watched every video or are just joining us now, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute blast working on this region and putting these videos together, and they've helped me come a long way as an artist. But I did choose my words very carefully there. I said base Pyara region. The fun doesn't stop here. Stay tuned for more Pyara content to come. The question for today's episode is, what's your favourite evil team? Thanks again for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.
Bomb!